Hi, my name is Hamza, and today I will be talking about an article by Franceschini and colleagues called Sluggish dorsally-driven inhibition of return during orthographic processing in adults with dyslexia. So let's dig right into it. So what do we know? Well, reading in general requires an orthographic system to assign letter identities to different spatial locations. And furthermore, visual attentional orienting has shown to be impaired in people with dyslexia. The magnocellular dorsal or MD pathway is involved in controlling visual spatial attention related to spatial location of visual stimuli. And lastly, complex tasks like the lexical axis have shown to be affected by this phenomenon known as inhibition of return, which refers to a suppression of processing of previously attended stimuli. Furthermore, typically adult readers are shown to be slower at identifying valid compared to invalid cued conditions during the lexical decision task, and so this led researchers to question whether individuals with dyslexia would perform differently from typically developed adults in the IOR during a lexical decision task, with the objective and motivation to investigate the efficiency of visual spatial attention during processing of letter strings in adults with and without dyslexia. And so how did they do this? Well, they did 3 experiments. The first experiment was an inhibition of return or IOR task, where after fixation, one of the 4 rectangles had blanked, and then after a period, a target stimulus, a word or pseudo-word, would appear for 200 milliseconds in any of the rectangles, either above, below, to the left, or to the right. And participants had to indicate the word or pseudo-word itself, and they had to do this in a span of 5 seconds. Researchers had hypothesized that there would be a general disorder of lexical access in adults with dyslexia. The second and third tasks aimed to differentiate between the MD and PV streams, and the MD stream was measured using the coherent dot motion task. Participants were asked to discriminate the direction of dot motion among 4 possibilities: up, down, left, or right, and only response accuracy was noted. There were also 5 levels of coherence that were randomly intermixed within the trials. Lastly, the last experiment was the static isoluminant color grading recognition task, where participants had to identify the grading orientation among 4 possible degrees of rotation displayed on the screen. And so now moving on to the results. When looking at the IOR task, the TR or typically reading group showed a greater IOR effect compared to the dyslexic group, as can be seen in the bottom for the 2 groups, for the 2 conditions, the words and pseudo-words. Furthermore, there was an interaction between location and group, where dyslexic group showed statistically significant difference only between the below and to the left location when doing the task. Furthermore, when looking at the CDM task, there was only a main effect of group, where accuracy and motion perception was greater in the TR group compared to the D group. And lastly, in the third experiment, there's only a main effect of masking and noise, so there was no difference seen within the groups. And so when looking and kind of discussing these results, in contrast to control, the dyslexic group did not show a significant IOR effect for word and pseudo-words. Furthermore, the group of adults with dyslexia showed an MD stream deficit, illustrated by lower performance in the CDM task. In contrast, the same group of adults with dyslexia were unimpaired in the PV stream functioning, as indexed by the third experiment. These results support the specificity of the MD stream deficit in dyslexia. Thus, it's possible that IOR deficits could impair the early stage of orthographic processing in dyslexia, where letters have to be identified and coded in correct locations. Now, one limitation of the study is that they generalize this to all forms of dyslexia, whereas there can be different forms of dyslexia, and hence they would kind of need to take into account. And furthermore, future studies should look into, when moving on from this experiment, future studies should look into testing to improve the MD stream by maybe unconventional visual training, such as video game training, that has shown to improve visual spatial attention in adults. With that, I thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you all are doing well.